Good morning, friends. Welcome back to GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm the GM Philosopher, and today we're talking about the secret sauce that turns a good D&D story into something unforgettable. Emotional arcs. Now, this is one of my favorite topics, but I've got some new stuff here to talk about. I've been back engineering this a little bit. No matter how epic your world is, no matter how epic your story is, or how powerful the villains are, what the players are going to remember most about your game is how it made them feel. And I've got 5 tips today to help you boost those numbers big time. Let's dive in. Point number 1, emotional arcs, the good ones, always seem to begin with a wound. As I've been contemplating and ruminating on my past gaming experience, I've learned that every great emotional arc starts with something broken. A missing parent, a deep betrayal, a fear of failure, a fear of being left behind. These aren't just cool flavor and storytelling like, copy paste concepts. They're actually fuel. Ask yourself, what is your player's character trying to heal, prove, or overcome? That's your compass, right? So if you start with the wound and you think, where will that lead? And then throw in the extra ingredient, which is constant evolution. You're going to find that if you put effort into this emotional arc, beginning with the wound in every single session and evolve it as time goes on, don't let it just sit stagnant, but actually add to it, play with it, put the spotlight on it. Sometimes you're going to find that this is going to really crank up the opportunity to make your games feel more emotional, to make those arcs really meaningful for your characters. This is going to lead us to point number 2. Use small moments to build big change, especially when you add them together. You don't need epic cinematics in every session to highlight emotional arcs. A kind word from an NPC, a soft moment where another character looks into that character's eyes, a hard choice in a moment of doubt. These are the bricks that build a true emotional arc. They happen in little bitty pieces, not in giant, episodic segments. Sometimes there is a giant episodic segment, but I'm talking about the little pieces you stick into every session, just in between player-driven narrative. Emotional growth doesn't have to be loud. You can layer it session by session in small ways, and that's really powerful. This is going to lead us to point number 3. Mirror their progress in the world, okay? When players change, the world should notice, and this goes back once again to showing the players that their characters are actually significant. But when we talk about factoring in emotional arcs, again, think about that arc that starts with the wound and follow it through. How is that arc affecting the player characters' relationships? How is it affecting the way the villain sees them? How is it affecting the way that, those nomads or traders perceived that character during their last interaction, right? What positives or negatives does this bring to the player in-game real consequences? Maybe the coward ends up becoming the captain of the ship. Maybe the exile finally finds a home. Maybe this player character brings on some unlikely allies because the allies, they can relate to the wounds and the history that this character has gone through. Use NPCs' challenges and consequences to reflect who they are becoming in the world. That's how they come to feel the arc, feel it as significant and meaningful. This is going to make the game more emotional, more meaningful to them, and that significance is what we're looking for. We want significance to ripple outward from that emotional arc that began with that wound as the foundational kind of beginning of it. And every character has this. There's no such thing as a true-to-life character who doesn't have a wound-focused emotional arc. We live in an imperfect world. Everyone gets hurt at some point, and that's what begins that arc. So keep that in mind. It's just identifying those for the player characters. Sometimes they'll reveal them themselves. Sometimes you'll find something and highlight it, and they will jump on board and buy in. Next, we're going to talk about point number 4, which is connect arcs to the climax. Okay, but before we do, I just want to invite you. Down in the description, you'll find a link to the GM Philosophy Discord. Join us in the Discord community. If you like Discord and you like talking about TTRPGs, we're about 500 strong now and growing every single day. Jump in and hang out with us. You will not regret it. It's free, won't cost you anything, and who knows, you may actually like it. Have a good time in there with us. Now, with that being said, Connecting arcs to the climax is point number 4. A good ending doesn't just end the plot, it closes an emotional circle. We do this with story. We do this with the characters fighting the big bad. We do this sometimes even with NPC and player relationships, but we can also do this with wound arcs and emotional arcs, okay? Let the final battle include a dimension, a layer, where it doesn't just reflect who they've become, but it reflects how that emotional arc is also reaching conclusion at the same time. If the rage-filled warrior has learned mercy, then layer that into that climactic battle. If the loner found love, let that be significant by way of explaining to them, it strikes you that you've been wondering this whole time, and then a thought occurs to you. It threatens to make its way into your mind. Perhaps your journey has led you here, where this person is wanting to love you, and you realize you have a choice. Are you going to accept it or push it away, right? We never want to take charge of the player's psyche, but we can suggest, and we can let them know when feelings or ideas maybe are tempting or asking to be let in, right? This is one of my favorite tactics. And we can do this to great effect when we layer emotional arc climaxes into other types of climaxes. And this is going to lead us to our final point number 5. And this one actually might surprise you. This is one I've gotten wrong kind of a lot. And I want to dive into it. And I want to talk for a moment about this. Before I do, I just want you to remember you can download my free 10-minute GM Mastery Toolkit. This is a free ebook that I offer. Links in the description. I condense 20 years of gaming wisdom down into 10 top techniques, tips, 10 guidelines for how to take your next session to the next level. And it is a quick 10-minute read, level up your session in 10 quick minutes. Oh my God, I can't talk today. And it's awesome. You can download it. It's free. And it's my way of helping to further the goal of this channel, which is empowering game masters to run better games. All right. Point number 5 is talk less, feel more. And you might not even expect me to mean what you think I mean with this point. Don't over-narrate. Let silence carry the weight. Let reactions speak louder than words. We all know this. This is the classic, shut up and let the players do their thing technique. But what I also want to reiterate here is sometimes we don't know where to go with an emotional arc. Feeling that, using your gut instinct to tap into where is this maybe leading. Okay, so you have a player who maybe has a tragic orphan backstory, and then it just occurs to you maybe, what could be something that would get their attention, strike a nerve in that journey. Maybe you walk past an orphanage on the street, you have the characters notice it. You say, you notice there's an orphanage. You see all these kids playing out front. They're all kind of dirty. They're playing marbles. And then suddenly you're hit with this flashback, this memory of when you were at the orphanage. And then you could ask the character, why don't you share with the group maybe a memory, going back in time. What was a memory that this might evoke in your character? And then let them share that, right? And this is going to bring significance. This is going to deepen that emotional arc. But here's the thing. The reason it came up was because you were feeling out a direction for that. And remember, it all starts with the wound, and then there's an arc. There's an emotional story layered into the other details of the story. We want to nurture that every single session. We want to feel out where it's going to go and bring it to climax. And when we layer that in and just make it another part of the story, it doesn't have to be a big explained thing. Players are going to feel this, even if they don't realize what you're doing. This is going to make your arcs far more emotional, more evocative, going to make them way more awesome. That is how you turn your games into incredibly emotionally evocative games, and you make those emotional arcs really matter to your player characters. And that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. Empowering game masters to run better games is our goal. So smash that like button and that subscribe button, and I'll see you awesome people on the next one.